have in your arsenal. It can help you rotate your hips forwards and backwards. Just kind of helps a little bit. I like using it myself. If you don't want to use that, you can always use a bolster. If you don't like a bolster or that's too high for you, you can always use a blanket. And of course, you can always sit directly onto your mat. The other thing I wanted to show before we get into everything is if we're ever doing like a forward fold and you need a little bit extra support underneath your heels, the perfect thing to do is to have your blanket ready. And you can almost place that on your mat to where you can put it beneath the ball or the heels of your feet. So then that way it brings the ground up to your heels whenever you're folding forward. So it's just a good way to kind of help support you in that way. The other prop that you might want to have ready if you use it is whenever we do forward folds to have your strap readily available, right? You would just easily place it on your feet or both feet, whichever way we're going, and it can help you fold forward. When we use this strap, we are not forcing ourselves to fold forward. We are gently using this to help us hold the pose of where our body naturally stops. So but we'll do a couple forward folds. We'll do some sitting. So, if you need the strap, please have that readily available. Outside of that, I don't know if we'll use the props too much at all. Um, you could have your blocks readily available for some of those forward folds as well, so you can place your hands on top of them. I tend to use a bolster for almost everything. So that's the reason for some of these. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So now what we'll go ahead and do is we'll go ahead and go into a mindfulness practice. So if you're willing, go ahead and close your eyes or ease your gaze. Start to focus on your breath. As you inhale, feel your belly expand. And as you exhale, feel it deflate. And as you're sitting here beginning this practice, maybe bring to mind your heartfelt desire, your purpose, maybe what brings you joy in life. Still focusing on your breath. As we bring this heartfelt desire, this sense of joy to mind, let's go ahead and set our intention for today's practice, whatever that may be for you. An intention can be that you don't want to overexert yourself after a long day of work. It could be you don't want to have any negative self-talk during this entire practice. Whatever that is to you, it could be any intention that you want to get out of for this practice today. Now that we've set that intention, let's go ahead, start moving our bodies a little bit. We're going to begin with neck rolls. So if you want to, you can go ahead and open your eyes or you can keep them closed, whatever is really comfortable for you. And as we do our neck rolls, you'll start with your chin to your chest. And then as you inhale, you'll move your head to one side all the way until you get to the back. And then you will exhale from the back all the way to the front. So we're going to do that for 5 times in one direction. So inhale, head goes around. Exhale, the head continues to come back down to where you started. 1. Inhale. 1 more. As we create balance, we want to do it on both sides. So now let's go ahead and do the opposite side. Inhale, head goes up and around. Exhale, it goes down and back around to where you started. 1. Last one. Now go ahead and bring your head back to a neutral place. And now we're going to kind of stretch out and get those arms and wrists worked up a little bit. So go ahead and put your arms in front of you like this. And let's go ahead and start moving our wrist up and down. Remembering to breathe as we do this. And if it's calling to you here, maybe go ahead and move your wrist around in circles. Back around. Just continue to move them. And if it's calling to you here in this moment, maybe go ahead and put your arms out to the side. Another benefit of this is that you get to open up your chest as you're also working things up, warming things up. Now go ahead and bring those hands to your shoulders, whether they're out to the side or if they're in front of you, kind of bringing them back to you. Do these for a few rounds, still remembering to breathe. And then whenever you're ready, go ahead and stop those on your shoulders and then start rotating your elbows in big circles. Maybe even smaller circles. Then back to bigger circles. Really trying to warm those shoulders up. Maybe rotate in the opposite direction now. Big circles. Might hear some Rice Krispies in those shoulders. Listen to your body as we go through each one of these. If your body's not calling to do that particular move, if it feels too stiff, if it just feels hurtful, don't do those movements. Give yourself enough permission to listen to your body. All right. All right, now shake out your arms, get them nice and warm and loose. Now go ahead and stick those legs out in front of you. What we're going to do now is we're going to do some shoulder or some ankle rolls. So go ahead and start to move your feet, your toes into big circles. Again, you might hear them cracking and popping. Some of the cracking and popping is normal, but if it hurts, stop and show yourself grace. All right, continue to do that. Another good thing about a meditation stool like I'm on now is doing this. It allows my body to kind of rock with my rolling of the heel. So it's really another great exercise to be able to do as well. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and move from there into a tabletop position. So here we'll be on all fours like this. You can either have your hands down on the mat flat, or you can use your fist. There's benefits to both. However, I use my hands flat down on the mat. And what we're going to do here is we're going to start to warm up that spine with cat-cow. So as we inhale, our bellies will go down to the ground, filling up with air. And then whenever we exhale, our spines will go to the sky. So as we inhale, bellies fall to the ground. As we exhale, our belly buttons go to the sky. So maybe do about 5 or 8 of these on your own pace. And remembering that whenever you do look up with cat-cow, you don't want to create any strain on your neck. So you're not trying to look up towards the ceiling to where you feel some type of strain, keeping your head nice and loose at any given time. And continue to do maybe 3 more of those. And whenever you're ready, come back to a neutral spine. And what we're going to do next is we're going to thread the needle. So what we'll do is we'll lift up one arm up above the sky, or up above your head towards the sky. Reach for the sky. You'll feel your shoulders kind of stretch out, your chest should stretch out. And then we're going to take that arm that is in the sky and we're going to shoot it between your leg and arm on the other side. And then we are going to lay down on that shoulder. Notice that I did not say that we're going to lay down on your head or your neck. Your head and neck should be free of any pressure. All of the weight should be on your shoulder. And then if you want to feel an extra little stretch in your lower back, push up on the arm that is flat on the ground. Opposite arm. Remember to breathe. And on the next exhale, come on back to tabletop. Now here we're going to do the same exact thing. So we're going to lift up the opposite arm to the sky. Stand here or sit here for a breath. And then shoot that arm between the opposite arm and leg. And remember, if you want that extra little stretch, potentially push up on that opposite arm a little bit. Also remembering here that there's no pressure on the neck or head. It's really just sitting there like it's sitting on a pillow. On the next exhale, go ahead and come back to tabletop. Now this time in tabletop, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of roll our backs around, almost like we were getting into the cat part of cat cow. And we're going to kind of move our body over a little bit to the other side, and we're going to roll our bellies around down to the ground, and we're just going to kind of do like a belly roll, like this. You can almost picture yourself inside of a barrel. You're trying to get all the barnacles off the inside of the barrel. Just trying to scrape the inside of the barrel all the way around. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and switch to the other side. Maybe I can look head on to the camera to where you can see my body that way. So you're kind of going this way. So continue to do that. Remembering to breathe as you do it. Remember pranayama, right? That means the life force. We have to continue to breathe. All right. Then whenever you're ready, come back to tabletop position and move into a push-up position or chaturanga. And then down into downward facing dog. And whenever we're in downward facing dog, the way that I tend to get into downward facing dog is that I put my feet at the ends of my mat and the hands almost to the top of my mat, and I really stretch out. I say the further you stretch out, the harder it is. The closer you are together, the easier it is. Remember to breathe in this moment. On the next exhale, then come on up to a mountain pose. So a standing pose. However you need to do that, walk your feet to your hands or your hands to your feet. And then now come to a mountain pose. And what we're going to do here in mountain pose is we're going to inhale and our arms will go up. And then whenever we exhale, our hands will go down. So inhale, arms go up. Exhale, arms come down. Do this on your own pace and your own breath. So inhale, arms go up. Exhale, breath goes down. Maybe do 5 of these or 5 more. Right, last one. As we come down now, we're going to do tree pose. So as we get into tree pose, one thing that I want to caution people on is one of the exercise that people get hurt a lot in is actually tree pose. And it's because it's a balancing technique and also you're trying to open up your hips. There's so many different things that go into tree. So as we do this, there's multiple different variations. You could easily do tree pose to where the balls of your feet are still on the ground. And then your heel is actually on your shin, your low shin. So your foot actually never really comes off the ground. This can easily help you maintain your balance and still open up your hip. Next variation is the calf variation. Same scenario, but now takes a little bit more balance. And then the last variation is on your thigh. Now, whenever you're on your thigh, remember that the goal isn't to be on your thigh and pushing so hard into your thigh that it's causing pain. So if that's the case, you may not be quite ready to put it on your thigh. It'd be better to come back down to your calf or your calf. So go ahead and find out whichever variation you want to do, and then let's sit here in tree pose. You can put your hands out to try to help you balance. You can do cactus poses, whatever really is calling to you. But let's sit here and take a few breaths while also noticing that you're opening up your hips a little bit. On the next exhale, go ahead and bring that foot back down into mountain pose. And whenever you're ready, let's go ahead and use tree pose on the other side, whichever variation is calling for you. On the next exhale, go ahead and bring that foot back down into mountain pose. Hands down by your side. And then now what we're going to move into is warrior one. So go ahead and move into your 1 foot being at a 90-degree angle, like this right here, looking straight on your mat. And since we're doing warrior one, your hips, I always call these your headlights right here, your hip bones that kind of poke out right here. Your headlight should be facing the front of your mat. So this would be warrior one. Your back foot should be, or your back leg should be straight. And then that foot is going to be probably at a 90-degree angle. Some people can do this a little bit with their foot at a full on 90-degree angle. I'm at 45. Your foot's probably going to be at a 45-degree angle. Go ahead and lift those arms straight up in the air. And then we're going to sit here for a few breaths as well. Some anatomy features to kind of worry about here is this knee should not be in front of your toes. This knee should not be to the side of where your foot is on either side. It should be perpendicular right above this foot. Remembering to breathe. And if your arms get tired here, you don't need to keep them up. You can definitely leave them down by your side. Yeah, however you need to do it, whatever's calling you today. And then on the next exhale, you're going to straighten that front leg up like this. And then we're going to go into pyramid pose. So what pyramid pose is our legs pretty much stay the same as if we're in warrior one, but now we just fold forward over that front leg. So as you're here, remembering to breathe. I will say if you need a block, you can easily put blocks down here. However, it's also good to either keep your hands behind your back or on your hips. And on the next exhale, let's go ahead and come back up. And then now we're going to go into warrior two. So we're going to bend that front leg again back to that 90-degree angle, making sure that we don't go over our toes. But now going into warrior two, we're going to have to rotate our hips where our hips are in line now with your mat, not pointing forward. So your headlights will be facing this way. And then what we're going to do is make sure our knee's not cattywampus, move our leg however we need, and then we're going to lift our arms up into warrior two. And here, a lot of times people feel that their arms have to be out like this to where they're flat. Your palms are flat with the surface. But I also invite you to play around with this because this isn't necessarily where your hands have to be. You might feel more comfortable with your hands facing perpendicular with the ground. Whatever's really calling you. I say you might feel more comfortable with your palms to the sky, but it feels a little bit more tense for me. So I'm going to rotate that back over. Then on the next exhale, we're going to straighten that front leg back up again. But this time what we're going to do is we're going to keep our hips the same pace, but we're going to go into triangle pose. So we're going to push that hip back to the back of the mat while also pushing forward, your shoulder forward, arm straight out like this, and then just let it drop down and the other arm goes up to the sky. And this is triangle pose. They call this triangle pose because you have one triangle between your legs, one triangle that forms here under this arm, and then another triangle that forms right here. Remembering to breathe. And on the next exhale, go ahead and come back up to a neutral position. And then go ahead and face to the side of your mat like this, both feet pointing this way now. And we're going to sit here for a minute, let our hips kind of open up. We've only done one side, so we're going to do the other side next. But go ahead here in this position with your feet spread apart. Go ahead and fold forward here. You can let your arms hang, just kind of free hang. You can touch them on the ground. You can use them and put them around your calves. Here, I tend to let them hang a little bit, let them kind of get loosened up again after some of these warriors and different things that we've done. Can kind of put a little bit of strain on it. So it's good to just kind of let them hang for a minute. All right, on the next exhale, go ahead and come on up. All right, now we're going to do the other side. All the ones that we did, warrior one, extended side angle, into warrior two, into triangle pose. So go ahead and get into that warrior one. Remember here, our hips are facing to the front of the mat. Whichever now is front of the mat, right, is facing the front of the mat. You're this way. You lift those arms up above your head into warrior one. Remembering to breathe. And on the next exhale, go ahead and straighten that front leg up, bringing your arms down. And then now what we're going to do is put our hands on our hips and go ahead and fold forward. And on the next exhale, go ahead and come back up. And now we're going to go into warrior two. So now the hips pivot where now it's perpendicular in line with the mat. Your leg is still at that 90-degree angle. You might have to maneuver that back foot a little bit to fit. And then go ahead and pull those arms straight up. Again, remember, they don't have to be this way. They could be to the side, they could be palms up. But here you have an option. However you want your arms. Sometimes it could depend on your shoulders and how they're feeling that day on which way your hands face. On the next exhale, go ahead and straighten that front leg up while bringing these hands down to your side. Pushing that back hip out while also pushing your front shoulder forward and then just falling over. Don't literally fall over. Fall over to where you fall in a triangle pose. On your next exhale, go ahead and come on up. And then now go ahead and face your feet forward and go ahead and shake it out a little bit. Now both sides should be stretched out and hopefully good. And then now that you're facing forward, let's go ahead and then fold forward one more time in this position. On the next exhale, go ahead and come on back up and stand into mountain pose. And we're going to take a few more breaths here again, the same way we did before. So inhale, arms come up. Exhale, arms come down. Let's do 5 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last one. And then now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go fold forward. I apologize, fold forward. And here, if you need to use your strap, this would be the time to do it, just placing it underneath your feet. But remember, you're not using it to pull yourself down. You're using it to hold your position where your body naturally stops. And now come halfway up to where your body is almost at a 90-degree angle. This really helps. Here, I'll show you here. This really helps elongate the spine, help stretch out some of those hamstrings. And go ahead and fold forward again. Then on the next exhale, put your hands down on the mat and then go into a push-up position or chaturanga. And then go ahead and ease yourself down to the mat. And take a breath here. And then push back up into chaturanga. And go ahead and move into downward facing dog again. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go into pigeon pose. So for those who don't really know what pigeon pose is, I'm going to show and demonstrate pigeon pose, show an alternative, and then we're going to do pigeon pose, okay? So everybody just kind of pay attention now. Is pigeon pose, we're going to lift one leg up in the air like this. And then we're going to take that knee to that hand, that same side of the hand. So you're going to shoot it up, get it the best you can to that knee. You can lay this opposite leg and foot down on the mat. And then here, you can stay here. You can lift up. Some people like to grab their leg back here. I can't quite get there. Or you can just lean forward as well. So that is one variation. Another variation, if you do not want to do it that way, is a figure 4. So what you would do is you would just put that leg on the knee of your other leg, and then you would take both hands and then hug the opposite thigh and pull that to you. That is another variation. You can choose either one, but let's go ahead and go into pigeon pose. So from downward facing dog, I'm going to take that leg straight up in the air. We're going to take that knee, shoot it to the hand that that knee is. And then you can either fold or reach out in front of your mat, or you can kind of sit up. If you sit up, you might feel strain on that lower back, so just be aware of that if you're not used to it. And then let's just sit here for a few breaths. On the next exhale, let's go ahead and come back into downward facing dog. And now from downward facing dog, we're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to lift that opposite leg up in the air, but you're going to shoot that knee to that same palm, same side palm, so this side. And then you're either going to lean forward, sit up, whatever's really calling for your body today. We're going to sit here for a few breaths. On the next exhale, let's go ahead and go back into downward facing dog. And then now what we're going to do is we're also going to take that leg, set it down in front of us like this, and come around into staff pose. So staff pose is where you're kind of sitting on your butt again. And with your butt, you can either sit on a bolster, a blanket. If you have a meditation stool, you can sit there as well. But here, you may need that strap again. So let's go ahead and fold forward from here. On the next exhale, go ahead and come on up. And then this time, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go into that hurdle pose to where you pull one leg up, almost like you're in a tree pose, and pull that leg up to where it's at a bend right here. And then we're going to do the same thing and fold forward. Again, you may need that strap, but remember, if you're using a strap, that strap is not pulling you to your leg. You're folding forward and using the strap to hold you in place. On the next exhale, go ahead and come on up. And go ahead and switch legs. When you're ready, go ahead and inhale, fold forward as you exhale. On the next exhale, go ahead and come on up. And then now what we're going to do is go ahead and lay all the way down into corpse pose. While in corpse pose, we're going to put our hands down by our side. We're going to lift our knees, our legs, or scoot our legs back towards our butt. And we're going to lift up our hips towards the sky and go into bridge pose. In bridge pose, if this is too much strain for you, you can always move that bolster and our blankets underneath your butt, but make sure you kind of put it in your low back area if you're going to do that. Also, in this pose, make sure that you have no strain on your neck. On the next exhale, go ahead and come on down. And then what we're going to do now to counter that is we're going to bring our knees to our chest. And then we're going to hold this pose for a minute. If you'd like, in this pose, maybe roll back and forth. If you have low back pain, sometimes that pressure from the ground can kind of work it out a little bit. Almost feels like a little massage. Remembering to breathe. On your next exhale, go ahead and lay down in the corpse pose. Here we're going to do Shavasana. So if you need any props for Shavasana, whether it's a bolster underneath your knees, a blanket under your head, whatever it is to make you feel comfortable, let's make those adjustments now. And as we dive into Shavasana, let's go ahead and remember our heartfelt desire from earlier today. In this practice, what brings us joy? What is that heartfelt desire, that northern star? And as we remember what brings us joy or that mission, noticing how that makes us feel through our entire body, while now bringing into our mind and awareness our intention for today's practice, whatever that was for you. And now bring an awareness to our breath. As you inhale, noticing your belly expand. And as you exhale, noticing your belly button moving towards your spine and everything in between. Noticing the coolness of the air. And then every time we exhale, maybe finding more and more of a way to relax. Relax mentally, letting go, non-judgmental stances and being right here in this moment. And also finding more and more ways to ease and feel more comfortable in your physical body on the ground. And now bringing back into awareness your breath, all along knowing that you can take your heartfelt desire, your inner sense of joy, and your intention for this practice off the mat and into your life. And just know that whatever shows up, you'll be able to meet it with grace kindness, and joy. Thank you, everybody. Let's go ahead and um, take a